All right, Aquarius, here we go. Here's your overall for the week. Fuck. Oh boy. So yeah, your overall, the Eight of Swords, the mental trap. And it's no wonder why you pulled reason and wisdom. I mean, yeah, you could definitely feel like you are trapped in a situation right now, but I don't know. I think that this is all about the way that you're thinking about something. Oh boy. And you may be seeking outside wisdom on a situation though too, but really, I feel more so that it's going to be up to you to like tap into your reasoning when it comes to like getting away from the mental trap, whatever thoughts that, have you stuck, or seeing things in like tunnel vision. Like there's only one way a situation can work out, or, one way to do something, and that may be trapping you in like, I almost feel like a repetitive pattern, especially when it comes to the way that you're thinking, but we'll see here. Now, in the past, the Magician, that worries me a little bit. Now, with the Magician, right, manifesting that cool ass shit. Having confidence in your ability to manifest what you want and having what you need to do it, but you feeling like for some reason that you can't. And maybe there is something that you're trying to make happen, but, somewhere somebody is stuck. But I think more so that this is going to have to do with you. And it's your own thinking that may be preventing you from manifesting something big here with the Magician. Like, I don't think that this has to do with manipulation. I mean, yeah, he is the master manipulator, but it's the manipulation of matter and making it manifest, right? But I worry because of that being the past. Oh boy. So now in the present, the Five of Wands. Definitely the internal struggle. Possibly. Pettiness, right? Competition. Battling with yourself. But like I've always said, when it comes to the Five of Wands, it's really about you rising above the rest. I mean, if you're in a situation where people are just butting heads and nobody's hearing shit, again, it's going to be up to you to get control over what's going on. But like, why? And I'm waiting to see what's happening here. Oh shit. Why? What's happening, Aquarius? Now, I almost feel like, if we're talking about a relationship here with the Lovers being in future conditions, it's really about, whether or not you can make a choice. Because again, with the Lovers, major choices that you make in relationships, or it's just the major life choices that you're making, right? But with the Five of Wands being above it, if we are talking about a relationship, somebody sees things one way. It's like they only see one way of doing something. Now for some of you, you could simply have a bunch of people fighting over you, which is possible with the Five of Wands. But you're trapped with the Lovers, and that bothers me with the Eight of Swords. I don't know. I mean, it kind of has the feeling of there may be something going on in terms of a relationship, and there's like only one way that you see this, and there's like no other way of doing something, and you're like trapping yourself with that type of thinking. But it only is because of the conflict that may be going around involving a relationship right now. And like I said, I don't feel like the Magician is manipulation here. I think it has more to do with you feeling like in the past, you knew how to like, I don't want to say control the situation, because we're not looking at the Emperor here, but it kind of has that feeling to it. But like you knew how to make things happen. But now, for some reason, you don't feel that way. Your best path to follow, the Fool. Wow. Wow. Now, like I said, going back to the whole, feeling of, and with the Magician being there, like you could have bigger thoughts, bigger things that you're trying to work on as far as like what you're trying to create in your life. And then you've got a bunch of people fighting over you, and you're looking at the Lovers and like, wait a minute, I don't know. And then you have the Fool as your best path to follow. Like, what? For you, And again, you know, like for you, it's needing to get out of that tunnel vision and like needing to just go for something here. With the Fool being your advice, it's basically saying don't worry about what's going to happen, you know, because like I've always said, when it comes to the Fool, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you don't know. You know, that's where the faith comes in here. But I don't know, this bothers me, you know, and this even more so. I mean, I'm glad it's not the Five of Swords, and I always say that when that shows up, you know, but like I said, it could just be you battling yourself on what you are wanting to create in terms of a relationship, though, too. And you may be like stuck with a way of seeing things and not being able to just go with it. Oh, okay. In your environment, the Four of Wands. Wow. Now, looking at that with the Five of Wands, it may be one of those things where, you know, we could be talking about like a family issue, though, too. But when I look at the Four of Wands, first of all, I feel like stability, like reaching a level of stability, but it's not happening between these two. And like I said, it's because somebody has tunnel vision. I think it's you. You know, some of you may feel like you're trapped in a situation, though, too, especially if you're living with somebody and there may be like pettiness going on. But you're still looking at the Lovers and future conditions. No matter how you look at the Four of Wands, whether you're looking at it in the upright or the reverse, it's there. When you're looking at it in the reverse, it's just a delay. That's it. You know, but I feel like for some of you, this is going to have to do with people you may be living with. There may be disagreements going on there. There may be, you know, disagreements going on with like possibly moving in with somebody, because I see that with the Four of Wands, you know, but you're still looking at the Lovers and future conditions, but needing to go for it, but then still having this tunnel vision on how to create this, where there is a level of stability within the family, within the home, where you're not dealing with this kind of crap, you know? But is this you doing this to yourself, though, and thinking that there's only one way to do something and there may be other people disagreeing with that? Either way, I'm looking at you like needing to just go for it, you know? And for some of you, you may need a new path completely. But I'm still looking at this going, well, why? You know? I mean, clearly you know the answer. Oh, wow. Your hopes and fears, the world. You know, I have to wonder if some of you aren't like needing closure on a situation with a relationship. With the world being hopes and fears, it's basically saying that you may be looking to like finish something. But when I look at the world, when we're talking about, you know, the endings, right? This is the big one. But it's the successful completion. Like every time I see it, I want to go like this. Like we've completed something in a really good way, right? Feeling like you've accomplished something, getting closure on something. But the problem is are you really getting there, though? Because of it being hopes and fears, and then looking at you with the Eight of Swords, like not knowing how to think, or thinking that there's only one way to do something, and that may not be the truth. But you have the ability to think clearly when it comes to this, but it's like you're choosing not to. But like I said, it may have to do with all this going on right now. You know, pettiness, fighting, not hearing each other, you know, especially with relationships, right? But you still end up here. But I do think that some of you are probably looking at needing to get closure on a situation within a relationship, or closure on a relationship, so that you can take a new path instead of being stuck with it. You know, this isn't the Hierophant, but still, like, I see a commitment being made here. You know, and for some of you, simply, it's just not working out. And I hate saying that, but, you know, again, you still end up here. Oh, yeah? Wow. Wow. The Ten of Cups. And you had the Four of Wands there. So it ultimately here, you come out to this place of happiness, like complete happiness. And again, family, like family issues. For some of you, it's definitely going to have to do with family issues, right? You know, and the major choices that you make in relationships. as far as what is happening with people you're living with, your family. But if we're talking about a major relationship here, there is overall happiness, but there needs to be closure in a difficult situation. But it's not that bad though, but it's bad enough that it may be affecting the way that you're thinking about, where you're at in terms of stability within a relationship. Again, especially if you're living with someone or wanting to live with someone, Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. If there's some bullshit going on, especially in terms of a relationship, I do think that being silent is not the best way to go if you're looking to just, keep the peace, so to speak. You may feel like, you can't say anything, but then I also think that you have tunnel vision on the situation. Now, as far as the star goes, right, your overall happiness, well, absolutely. I mean, that's what you're looking at with the star. But also healing within a relationship, emotional balance, all those beautiful things with the star. God, I love your card. But one of the things that I point out with this too is when you come out of the tower and you move to the star, instead of standing in the fucking rubble, it's you looking at your hopes and your dreams on such a big scale, and it may feel like it's not within reach, but it is, but seriously, the healing of family situations, relationships, but you're still holding on to something here, and you may not be talking about it with the Four of Swords, and I don't think that that's the right way to go. But then again, you may be thinking about what is the best thing to say, because I don't know, for some of you, I feel like you think that the best way to keep happiness is by not saying something, but maybe you should. Because clearly here, you're hoping for all of this to be completed out once and for all, but in a good way for everybody, And I think that at one point you may have felt like you had a level of control with the Magician. But then not only that, but, being in control of being able to manifest what, you want in terms of your stability within relationships. But wow, Aquarius, what I'm going to say is, the best way to get healing here is to not be so, on guard, defensive, looking for another fight, and just speak up and say what needs to be said. But be careful about, like I said, tunnel vision is what I keep hearing. Seeing things one way and not being open to, seeing a situation a different way to get to this place of it's done and it's over with now. Because that's ultimately what you're hoping for here, But like I said, when it comes to reason and wisdom, it's up to you. You're the one that can see clearly how to handle these situations. But I feel like this is more of an annoyance right now to you and what you're dealing with within the family. But you're just needing to be I'm just gonna relax, chill out here and just take, that leap of faith here and trust that all this shit's going to be closed up. But I don't know. You may feel like, though, because I'm looking at her hands, that you're not able to say anything, and you may want to, but maybe that isn't the best thing to do, especially if you're looking to keep the peace, I don't so much feel like you guys feel like you're stuck in a relationship. I think that there's something else going on, and I feel like you want to speak up about it, but you don't want to disturb peace within the home. All right, I'll shut the hell up now. Let's take a look and see. Sorry about that, guys. My battery died on me, and I can't have the overhead light. So, all right. For those of you who are single, oh boy. You are probably dealing with, whether or not to make a major commitment right now. Because if you're talking about engagement, right, and making a commitment here or taking the relationship to the higher level, when you're looking at the lovers in this deck, some of you may be tempted somewhere else. That, or you're dealing with a partner here that can't make that commitment or maybe having problems. I don't know. And it could be that we're just getting rid of outside influences or third parties, right? But I think it's interesting, right? The lovers, the lovers. But I don't know. I worry about that with this one because, the guy in the middle is obviously being tempted, but what's really good for him is sitting right here, you know? And that may be you or the other person. But in order to, take the relationship to the next level here, where you start to become, the couple, right, fully committed, it's like somebody needs to get past this. No more outside parties, no more, looking somewhere else. Like that has to be over with. Now, for those of you who are in a relationship, soulmate in the world, and oh my God, the world here is about a relationship that makes you feel complete. It's a beautiful thing, especially if you think that you are with your soulmate. I mean, as far as soulmate goes, like I said before, technically we're all each other's soulmates, right? Because we're all connected. But, when you feel like that with a person and then you have the world, you feel complete. This person makes you feel complete. And that's basically it. And it's beautiful. It's not an ending of a relationship or anything like that. It just makes you feel really good. And it's not bad. But I do think that for some of you who are in a relationship right now, I think that there may be like some outside bullshit that I think is like causing some problems. And I think that you're trying to keep the peace, but you're also looking for another battle here. But then at the same time, it's like you're keeping your mouth shut. And I don't think that that's the best way to go. I think that you need to just go ahead and say what needs to be said. But then also, don't look at things from one point of view, because again, I go back to the Oracle cards and I think that you have the ability to see clearly here on what you need to do to get to this place of overall happiness. All right, Aquarius. So, like I said, when it comes to reason and wisdom, the very first quote for wisdom says, there's a difference between taking a calculated risk and stupidity, right? Now, I don't so much feel like you need to take a risk on anything, but like I said, when it comes to these two, I think that you're going to be the only one here that knows how to kind of like take care of this situation. It's just a matter of whether or not you can think clearly about it. Like, I get the sense that some of you like see things a certain way, but then like, the tunnel vision, right? But then I also feel like you guys are like tying yourselves down here and not really doing anything about the conflict that may be happening when it comes to, your relationship and the stability that's happening here. I mean, ultimately the lovers prevails on this with the Ten of Cups, which by the way is beautiful. This to me is like the perfect scenario. But like it makes sense that this is what's in the present moment because it's petty. It's just petty. And I think you want it to be over with. And I think at one point, you felt like you had like a level of control, at least with the Magician. I think that you, in the past were able to think really clearly about what you wanted to manifest in terms of, your stability, your commitments within relationships, what you wanted to happen within the home. But like I said, the pettiness that's happening here, I do think that you want it to be over with, but, with the clarifiers, I think that there is definitely a possibility here to heal some issues, and they may be issues that are coming back up. And like with the Nine of Wands, I see you preparing for another battle, but then looking at the Four Swords, it's like you just, like, I'm not going to say anything. But you should, though, and again, the Fool, right? Like, but I also feel like, you need to have faith when it comes to, dealing with it in the right way. And I think more so like communication in the way that you're thinking about it, because I just see you looking at it as one way. It's this way and that's it. And there is another way that you can handle this. Like, I don't think that some of you are stuck in a relationship here. I think it's really about getting past the mental traps that may be stopping you from healing some petty bullshit that may be going on around your relationship right now, or affecting, your home, or this may have to do with family, right? But either way, like, don't, with the star being there, I mean, besides it being you, I would say don't, like, prepare for another battle. There's no point in doing that because, like I said, with the world, it's like it needs to be over with once and for all. But you need to do it in a way that's going to make you feel like, it's been done in a positive way and we can move forward and go back to the Fool, right? But I don't, I still see the Lovers and the Ten of Cups, and I think that that's probably, like, the best scenario for anybody in terms of relationship or family. It's just whatever you're dealing with now is petty. But I wouldn't shut yourself off, though, either. And you could definitely be saying that you're calling a truce, in order to get to a place of healing, which, yeah. But because we're looking at the Eight of Swords, I don't like it in terms of you and the way that you're thinking about the situation, and you shouldn't be tying your hands because you're looking to keep the peace within the home, especially if you're dealing with petty bullshit that you want to be over with in a major way. Now, in terms of relationships, for those of you who are single, engagement and the Lovers, if you're looking to take the relationship to the next level, the only way that that's going to happen is if there's no more third parties. I mean, that's basically how I see that. It bothers me. It's like there's the potential there to take a relationship to the next level, but, you can't get there yet because somebody else is still seeing temptation. Now, on the other hand, you could definitely be talking about you getting involved with somebody who is engaged, right? Which is possible. But I don't know. I see this more so as you're wanting to take a relationship to the next level, but you can't because, like I said, third parties, right? Now, as far as those of you who are in a relationship, soulmate in the world, that's, again, it's like looking at the Lovers and the Ten of Cups. And it's perfect. If you feel like you're with your soulmate, this relationship makes you feel complete. And it's perfect. But I don't know, singles, it's like, right? And you may be dealing with a person that is wanting to take the relationship to the next level with you. But, there may be other people involved, I wish that Lovers was different. But looking at that, I mean, it's clear. Somebody is being tempted, but what they should be doing, is right next to them, but they're not seeing it. But, what I will say about this is in whatever way that you feel like you're stuck and you can't speak, like you need to get out of like that one track mind type of thinking, because that's not going to help you get to a place of like healing within family issues. But like I said, you have the Lovers and the Ten of Cups. That's like the perfect scenario for anybody, whether we're talking about family or relationships.